Hello and welcome back to Villa TV and to Matchday Live for our post-match reaction show. My name is Kate Tracy, alongside me Alan McAnally and Lee Hendry. Aston Villa then managed to hold Newcastle to a 0-0 draw after having Ezri Konsa sent off down to 10 men, defiant with gaining that point. Lee, is that how we're going to frame this game, do you think? How would you?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it was one of them sort of first games of the season, really. I think blowing a few cobwebs off. Didn't quite get the passing going today as what we've seen in pre-season and last season. But you know what? I think looking at the overall performance, you'll take a draw all day. Obviously, the sending off of Ezri was a big blow. But yes, I mean, it was a I put it down to a typical first game of the season.
Should we talk about the sending off? It kind of feels like the elephant in the room, the only thing that really happened. We had no goals to talk about. So normally we try and go in chronological order, Alan, but should we get the elephant out of the room first and foremost? So the sending off, red card, straight red. Was it a straight red for you?
I thought it was I thought Anthony Gordon gets the wrong side of Ezri as he gets caught. I'm sorry, if it happens to us, we're screaming for a red card. Yeah. So I don't think we can really complain about that. The only thing is the first 45, I thought our tempo was a bit low, which hasn't been. And I don't know whether, running with the ball was a problem today. Our passing wasn't just absolutely on the button. And maybe Lee's right, it's just opening day of the season, but you can't expect it to be on pop. I will say something genuinely. It's a good point in the end because we play with 10 men for 20 odd minutes or whatever it was. They're a good team. They're strong in the middle of the park. They're really strong defensively. So I wouldn't say it's not a good point for us for sure, because they're going home delighted. In fact, they might go home a little disappointed that they haven't turned over an Aston Villa team that finished it with 10 men. There's lots to take, but there's certainly plenty to build on.
It's interesting what Newcastle will make of that, actually, because, as you say, and I listened to an opposition view, prediction and preview of today's game, and this fan was saying, well, basically, you don't go to Villa Park expecting anything at all, and that's kind of, take away a draw, and that will be a good result for them. But as Alan said there, the fact that Villa went down to 10 men, yet with all of the chances that Newcastle created in the first half, still couldn't get the job done. Do you think they'll be disappointed, or do you think they'll be pleased?
I think they'll be disappointed in so many elements because, as that fan says, you don't come here and get it easy, and that's proven. You look at last season, how this place was a fortress. And people are coming here, big sides are coming here and thinking they've got a game on their hands. So I think, yes, because probably the performance wasn't quite at scratch and where we've seen it at in the past season, I do think that they will be a little bit gutted that they haven't took all 3 points. And especially when we went down to 10, as Alan says, you expect them to throw the gauntlet and really have a go, and which they did. They created a couple of chances, but do you know what? We defended gamely. I felt it made us sit back, and I thought we looked quite dangerous at times on the counter-attack, but it wasn't quite there. I think they'll be the more disappointed, I would have said, because I think they probably thought that the game was there to be taken today.
They were as wasteful as we were. We had an opportunities a couple of times. Wasteful is an awful strong word to use. You know what I mean? We were in areas in that final third where last season, not only were we getting a shot on target, we're probably putting them under a little bit more pressure and scoring a goal. I'm going to mention them right now. For 25 minutes, our goalkeeper was sensational.
Marco Bizot.
He was absolutely fantastic and continued throughout the game to come and collect. And I thought he did a really, really good job. And the guys in front of him did well too. Kashi, there was a spot about 10 yards from us where Kashi went down about 3 times.
Oh my word!
He kept on
unbelievable blocks.
He kept on blocking it with his, he kept on blocking it. And but that's just it, though. And every time the ball goes wide, I'm saying stop the cross, get into a position where if you know if someone's behind you, they've got to be shouting at you. Stop the cross. You can go to them. You can go and put them under pressure, and we did. They were a little wasteful, but we had opportunities today that. I said I wanted a clean sheet, we did, and we did it the hard way, by the way. So there were a lot of boys in there today, disappointed the game finished 0-0, but delighted with a clean sheet, and I think probably the manager will take more from that than necessarily us not being able to score.
And it's interesting, you talk about the adversity that they faced, yet still the resolution that they showed following the red card for Conser, where last year that was brought into question a few times. We were speaking about the reverse fixture last year up at St James's when John Duran got sent off and everything just fell to pieces. And we saw a few red cards last year, Martinez as well, and they just weren't able to lift their game again. As Alan said there was no denying the blocks were coming in, bodies were being thrown straight in the direction of travel. And that resolution, at least, is one big positive we can take.
That's exactly what we got to take out of the game. I mean, it is a massive positive because it's quite easy to go down to 10 and as you said, things fall apart. You know, you get disjointed, players are playing out of position. Kamara drops into the centre-half role, which we've seen him do last season quite gamely, yes, and he did really well in there. And as you said, I think we had to be solid because you start the season and obviously you come away with nothing. There's a disappointment straight away. That's why I think we have to take the so many positives that we can take from that, and that's defensively. We got back in our units. Yes, we could have been better with the football. There's no doubt of that. I'm sure that will come. Yeah. But I think, you know, looking at the way we set up today, we were solid and we were compact and we were hard to break down.
Can we go back to talking about Marco Bizzot again there? Alan teed it up perfectly. He's been given man of the match on various apps and platforms and social medias and such like as well. Would you disagree with that, or is he getting man of the match for you?
No, he was definitely. I actually was really impressed with him. He did come for crosses. He had saves to make, which he made. I think what impressed me more so is particularly the way we like to play out from, you know, goal kick areas. I thought his distribution, he put a couple out of play a couple of times, but at times he knew when he had to go long into a centre forward or into John McGinn in the wide areas. But I like the fact that he was composed. There was a few little passes that, you know, on his sort of first game here, there's always going to be nerves, and he literally dealt with it. I know he's got experience on his hands, but this is a daunting place, believe me, and particularly being a goalkeeper. I thought he came in and he fit the bill really well for us. When he was called upon, he had to do what he did, and he did it perfectly. So for me, he was man of the match.
And like you say, when you're coming into this, even with the whole 10 behind you being your own fans, it still is a daunting prospect. And we know he's about 34 years of age. He is vastly experienced. And we spoke about this at the Warsaw game. The fact of his progressive plays, his distribution, all of the stats there are actually really positive, even though you may not have associated that with him. But Alan, it makes sense why Villa signed him up, because we know how much Villa love playing out from the back. When we don't have Martinez, he looks a very, very able substitute.
I think he proved that today, that I don't think we've got an awful lot to worry about if anything happens to Martinez, who's our number one goalkeeper. That's a fact, and Bizzot knows that, so he'll just have to bide his time, and you never know. You know, if he keeps performances like that and keeps clean sheets, then the manager's got a, I suppose I'm saying Martinez are number one, but nevertheless, it's a lovely position to be in as a manager, that if something happens, we have an able-bodied replacement. I'm going to mention Ollie Watkins today as well, because obviously I'm kind of scrutinising our forward play quite a lot, and I thought he ran tirelessly. There's a couple of times where I wanted him to really be stronger in holding the ball up, which I did a couple of times. But having said that, when you play against Fabian Schär and Dan Burn, even me, you know, it's a toughie. You've almost got to be leaning into them before they even begin to think about jumping, etc., etc. And it takes a lot of energy to do that. But he still chased down and chased down and chased down, because he had to. We're down to 10 men. Forget about scoring a winning goal. It's about defensive. His first thing was defensive, and I thought we got that okay by the time it hit middle of the park. And there was nothing else the manager could do but go 4-4-1. What we unless you really take a chance to still play with wing backs, because you think we can get down in behind them, but both their full backs as well. So he couldn't even do that really. So in the end, I think, on reflection now, and I'm calming down a little bit, I'm happy with the point, but only with the way the second half gone, not so much the first.
Yeah, and it's interesting that as well, because we literally saw the team sheet as I was reading it out as live, and I was kind of looking at it thinking, I wonder where the width exactly is going to come from then. Then we've got Luca Dean and Matty Cash then as our fullbacks left and right. And did you see enough width there? Were they hugging the touchline enough for you? What did you really take from today in terms of the setup for Villa?
I thought Luca Dean got forward quite a fair bit, to be quite honest, in that first half in particular. I think, you know, Matty at times does get forward. I think he chose his times, and I think that was the thing today, is that having the two fullbacks in Cash and Dean, I think that you've always got to be conscious of what they've got in Barnes and whether it be Gordon or Elanga. So they're quick turnovers. But yes, at times, I think there was times in that first half that we did get in good situations. And probably the quality wasn't there from wide areas that we touched on, how good it has been in pre-season. But yes, at times I think not having out-and-out wide players, more playing as 10, that John would sit in a little bit and make it hard for the fullback. But yes, at times I did feel that Luke had probably got forward more so out of Matty.
And what did you make of them in front of him, with Morgan Rogers over on the left, John McGinn on the right, and Yuri Tielemans down the middle?
Yeah, I think Yuri gave us exactly what he gets. He's still 7, 8, 9. I mean, see, the problem is there'll be a lot of negativity in a lot of the fans' head because we didn't play particularly great. Let's get it right. Yeah. But that's just okay. Sometimes you don't play your best.
No,
you know,
I mean,
that passing is just a little bit off.
Yeah.
But I go back to what I said in the beginning. You played a team who made it to the Champions League, who are going to be one of our biggest conquerences this year in terms of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. We have been in that position with Newcastle United for the last 3 or 4 years. So in reflection, the way the game has gone, it's not that bad a point, everybody. It genuinely isn't. No. And it just feels as though we're a little deflated because we know we can play better.
We've got such high expectations now for this club, which is a compliment.
Correct. But at the same time, when you're mentioning about Morgan, I would have loved him to be more involved. I'd have liked to have driven in. By the way, I'm not going to mention Craig Possum, but it's too late. I've just mentioned him. I thought the referee could have done us a favour a couple of times, because there was a few times I was like, really, Craig? Seriously? And I thought he was pretty nice to them, although he'll probably say he was nice to us a couple of times. And John played well. He held the ball up really well, etc. There was a couple of times when I just thought he might do better in that final third. Hey, open the day of the season. Nobody gets it right all the time, and hopefully next week we'll be on it.
I know we touched on the pitch being immaculate, but I don't know why. But whether it's the new balls even, but I felt like there was a lot of sticky patches where players were tripping over the ball. Not just our players, but Newcastle players. I felt that on our pitch usually we've got that zip and that pop around, and I didn't feel there was something that just
by the way, and also you might be right there, because a lot of the time when we watch even John McGinn or Onana or Morgan Rogers or whoever driving with the ball, it looked as though they were almost too quick, as the ball wasn't travelling with them.
Like it was.
And it felt a bit, I mean, it's not an excuse, for God's sakes.
It definitely isn't an excuse.
No, but having said that, there was times when you went, go on, you're like, oh, can't believe that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe just one of those things. It's a point, it's a 0-0, it's a clean sheet, we build.
Yeah, one of the fans actually, who's just behind our cameras here, he actually leaned over and said to you, like, will you just please mention, the referee. There you go, right, Alan's done it for us, right, that is ref chat.
I didn't want
then
to
and done
that.
for now. No, honestly, it was requested, to be honest. Where do Villa look forward to now? What would you like to see more from them, Lee, next time?
I just think that, you get that first game out of the way. I know it's crazy to say, but you get that first. We all look forward to it, and I'm sure the players were looking forward to today's game. Didn't quite happen. We go again. We build off what we've got here. We're going a big miss with Konza being out. By the way, now that's a massive miss for us.
Yeah.
But there's listen. I look at that performance, and I know that there's still lots to come from this football team. There really is. And I think we'll build off that. I think there'll be things that the manager will look at. What could we have done better? Maybe it might be a change in personnel. But you know what? We've come away with a point. We went down to 10 players. And I think that the positives that we've got to take from that is taking what we did in good moments. I felt second half we was a lot better than that first half. We take it into the next game, and we better. I think I look at the way we play and the way we moved that football on the football pitch last season, and the way we did it in pre-season. That's where we're getting to the pinnacle, and that's where the gaffer will want to see. He'll want to see the same elements that we've seen against Roma, where they moved the ball quickly. It didn't happen today, so I'm expecting that to probably come into the next game. And then I think that's where we'll open teams up quite easily.
You prefer to see it that way around, wouldn't you? Than a quieter first half and much better, much improved in the second, just when everything's starting to click together. Of course, the red card just set that back that little bit, but at the same time, still plenty of positives for you to look forward to.
Let's take the first half, 45 minutes. I'm saying we didn't have that goal threat about us, that we normally have an edge there.
0.00 XG, just for what it's worth.
Don't really start me on that rubbish.
1.6 for Newcastle.
But I think in terms of the way they defend and who they've got defensively, maybe they've restricted us to that, etc. I just expect us to have, in spells in the game, a good 10 minutes of where we've got them pinned back. We didn't really.
Did you not think I thought we cancelled each other out a
Oh,
little
very
bit.
much.
You know, I
Very
actually
much.
felt that's why
Very much.
it was an even point, I
Yeah,
felt.
absolutely. That's probably, in the second half, although there was a couple of times where you think, it was like 5 or 3 against 4 or whatever, and you think we might just have an opportunity to put them away. But hey, I'm just disappointed it's the opening day of the season. We haven't taken 3 points.
Yeah.
There'll be lots of games like that during the season. We take it on the chin, and like the wee man says, we go again. And from what, as ex-players, when you sit in the dressing room, you're like, okay, right, okay, that'll happen again. I know that's going to happen again, and I'll make sure I'll do something differently this time. And it's a learning progression for everybody. So not too unhappy. It's just the fact that we didn't score a goal.
And I know it doesn't help and people don't want to hear this, but look at the first game of the season 2 seasons ago. 5-1 hammering by Newcastle. Tyrone Mings doing his ACL as well, you know, and we still finished 4th that year. So there you go. And it is nowhere near that level. Like you say, it was a hard-earned point, wasn't it? Down to 10 men, but roll on Brentford then. So looking forward to that. The season's going to come out of thick and fast now.
We'll do.
We'll beat them, don't worry.
Hopefully the same result then as last season, lads. Thank you so much for coming back, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time, I think it is. Yeah,
Thank you, Kate.
we're rolling straight into the season. So a point on the board then for Aston Villa. It was a hard-earned point as well against Newcastle, but 1 point on the board up the Villa.